And so I wanted to introduce her. So she's an award-winning blogging and social media expert and the founder and CEO of LadyBossBlogger. She taught her strategy on stages all over the world. She's amassed an audience of over 300,000 followers across her social media platform, has been featured in 500 plus magazine, books, and publications, including Forbes, Entrepreneur, Huffington Post, and Authority Magazine. So just so you guys know, Entrepreneur Magazine is coming to us tomorrow. We have Jason Pfeiffer, the editor. So we didn't plan that, but that's a good segue into that. So we just wanted to thank Elaine. You guys have been requesting to understand this side of the business. So who's better than her to bring to center stage? So welcome. How are you, Elaine?
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for the introduction. The whole entire summit has been wonderful, especially yesterday when I joined. So yeah.
Well,
Great.
thank you.
Welcome.
We're excited. We're excited to have you here. And I know that we're giving you 30 to 40 minutes and you're going to be sharing a wealth of knowledge. So we told all the ladies to have their pens, their pencils, their coffee, do not get up, their workbook and notepad so they can absorb all the value that you're going to be sharing. So we wanted to
wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing my screen real quick for you guys first. Yep. Let me know if you guys see it.
We can see it.
All right. Perfect. So so today I'll be talking about how to land brand deals on your Instagram and your blog. So let me first start by introducing myself. First, how did I become an influencer and how did this whole journey begin? I actually started off in the wedding industry. So I was the national wedding sales manager. I was like a wedding planner, did anything weddings, that was me. And that was my career and my trajectory and my goals. So I was working in my dream, what I would consider my dream job, when I received a devastating phone call from my boyfriend who lived overseas. And he basically told me that his brother had just been murdered. And so I didn't know what to do, except for ask my boss if I could attend the funeral and be with his family at the time. And my boss said no, because it would affect sales. And so I immediately realized that I was just a dollar sign to the company. And other than that, I didn't matter. And so I quit. I moved overseas to Honduras, where my boyfriend was living at the time. And so I quit. I moved everything down, and I realized when I went down there that I was jobless. It was a very spontaneous move. My identity in the wedding industry was completely stripped from me, so I had to reinvent my passion, my purpose. Everything was like from back to ground zero because I had let my career define me for so long. And so that's how I started blogging. So I basically, while I was living in Chicago, I had met all of these entrepreneurs, but they were all men. And I was like, where's all the women at? And so I wanted to name my blog Lady Boss Blogger because I wanted to interview and reach out to female bosses and women and connect with them. Because number one, I couldn't speak to anybody in Honduras because I didn't speak Spanish. So I wanted to connect with people. And number two, I wanted to start a blog because I associated blogging with a feeling of bliss and a feeling of, importance. Because when I was in the wedding industry, actually as the time that I had off, I basically was an intern for this blogger, and I would go to her events, write about her events and stuff like that. It was just a really awesome thing. And so I wanted to become a Lady Boss blogger, and that's exactly what I became. And that's what I've helped a lot of other women become as well. Then after a year of blogging, the Huffington Post reached out and was like, hey, how come, you were able to scale your blog so quick? And I was like, oh, wow. At that moment, I realized that blogging was something that I was really good at. So it took a whole year of realization, after the fact. I was like, okay, this is something that I can do. And then after that, people started reaching out to me and was like, interested in more of my personal life. So I started Instagram, and I started showcasing what it is like to be, a full-time blogger through Instagram. And in so doing, brands started reaching out. And so I started working with brands on Instagram. So full story is basically, I've been the influencers where brands have hired, and also been the brand that I've also hired influencers. So I have different, basically, I would say a well-rounded perspective on both sides of what works, what doesn't, how to attract a brand, what brand's looking for, and different stuff like that. So First and foremost, I mean, just a few brands that I've worked with. The first one that I've ever worked with was actually Intel. And it was just like like one tweet that they asked me to do. And after I did that tweet, I was like, oh, there's money in this. And so I started, diving really deep into, brand work and collaborations and stuff like that. And I mean, from when I started till now, it's been a huge shift in terms of like, I mean, the industry is still growing and morphing into what it is, going to become and all that stuff. But I would say we're still at ground zero in terms of like developing the industry. So now is still the best time to get into it. Other brands I work with: Amazon, Best Buy, Target, Sephora, Ulta Beauty, Fujifilm, and thousands of other brands. On my Instagram, I literally have a sponsored post every single day. So you can see the amount of opportunity out there if you know how to tap into it. Now, why are influencers the new celebrity? First and foremost, the trust has shifted. So now, I mean, instead of like, for example, if you see this this image of Jennifer versus this image of this family using Aveeno products, more than likely you're probably going to be, you're like, oh, this family actually uses Aveeno products on their baby. Wow, I think that, Aveeno is more trustworthy versus, a stage photo of Jennifer. While it's stunning, it's the trust element and the authentication factor is not there, which is why influencers hold huge power right now. And plus, you get to select who markets to you. So instead of like, Jennifer being everywhere, it's like, I choose to follow this influencer because I value what they value. They have my family, whatever it is, this qualification list. So in essence, people are choosing you, if you were to become an influencer, to market to them. So that's a huge honor, right? And so we have to use this platform wisely, right? The other thing is celebrities have a huge but a really vague audience. There's a lot of people in their audience, but it's not necessarily, I mean, it could be anywhere from like, tweens all the way to like, retirees who follow Jennifer versus a person who followed, this influencer, is a little bit more targeted. So influencers have niche audiences, which is what brands love because they want to tap into that very specific audience in order to gain and the best way to, work with a brand is if your audience aligns with their audience. That's the best kind of partnership, right? So for example, if, Aveeno baby, you have a baby and it is, between, 0 and, 3 years old, that's their target audience. That's who they're trying to market this product to, then that would be a perfect fit. So you always want to find brands that basically fit really well with you and your audience so that it makes sense that you're promoting them. And finally, being an influencer is different than having influence. So there's a lot of people who have, huge followings, but they might not necessarily be able to affect a change or affect the people to do something, right? An effective influencer is somebody who has influence and is able to basically sway somebody to look at, to see the way that they see things and or convince them to like buy a product, not because they're trying to force them, but because it's like, it's worked for me, I believe it will work for you too, and so on and so forth. Because ultimately, while brands hire influencers because of brand awareness, obviously they want to ultimately drive sales, and sales happens when you actually have influence. That being said, every single one of you guys have influence. Okay, your sphere or circle, no matter how big or small, you have influence on that sphere. And so in essence, anyone can be an influencer. And ultimately that's what brands are looking for. It's just who you have influence over. Okay, so how do you build an audience and how do you build trust? First and foremost, if you are at ground zero, I recommend you just promote products, places, experiences that you already use and that you love. So for example, if you, like it should be something that's like very natural to you, something that is not forced, something like, obviously if you don't have kids and you're promoting kid product, right, that there's something that's missing there, right? for example, over on the side, you see this image, right? So prior to me being, having a platform, I used and love extensions. And so when this brand reached out to me and they were like, oh, would you want to recommend your extensions? Sorry, they wanted to use me as their influencers to represent their extension brand. And I was like, yes, of course, that would be wonderful. So I created an image of the meat with extensions in, and then a before and after photo, as well as a video. So it's something that's very, I like creating educational content, right? So, which brings me to the next point. You can create educational, motivational, and or entertaining content. And you can create all three, but generally people fall within one or two of these categories. And that's a good general funnel, I would say, of what kind of a vibe you want to give to your audience. For example, with the extensions, right? I could have created like a TikTok or something more, fun or funky, but that's just not like my personality. And I just don't think that it would come across as authentic and it's not like content that I like to create. So what kind of content do you enjoy creating? And then create more of that, and then that will bring that, and these three things are what brings value. So whenever this vague value number, comes around, is it educational? Is it motivating? Is it entertaining? These three things bring value to an audience. Okay, so decide which one it is that you want to do. For example, let's say you are super into beauty, right? You can show your hair care routine, your skincare routine, makeup routine, whatever it is, and the thing is, if you're really good at these things, not everyone is good at doing their hair or their skin or their makeup, like the things that you're naturally good at and gifted at, or naturally just interested in and wanting to share, these are valuable things. Okay, so don't be afraid of showcasing that, because more than likely, other people are going to connect with you. Next, food. What you can do is showcase your, kitchen tools and, do a demonstration. If you're a foodie, you can go around to different, restaurants and take photos of your food and display that on your profile, right? If you're in fashion, you can do photo shoot with tips and tricks. If you're more entertaining, you could do like funny videos. It's just up to, your style, fitness, video capture, capturing your workout, capturing your outfit. So it's kind of like a fitness fashion and fitness workout. So there's a whole variety of things that you can do. But if you notice, every single one of these points is basically is just life, right? You're just sharing your life with other people, but in a way that is, once again, educational, motivational, or entertaining to someone else. And that's what makes you have influence over someone, if they actually enjoy watching your content, right? So after you create this content, you want to make sure to tag the brand, share your video with them, and then, post the photo on, send it to them via DM, so that they can see, the quality and the type of content that you can create. For example, if you were to reach out to a brand and you're like, hey, I want to promote you, and they check out your page and you have a photo of a cat, a dog, and like your kid, they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, what kind of content can you create for me, right? Like, would you hire yourself if you were to see your own profile and see, the kind of content you create, right? So the reason why we're creating this content is not so that you're just creating content for free, just for funsies. It's because you want to create a resume of like, what can you create? It's almost like creating your packages. Like, are you willing to create video? If you're not, make that known. Right? Are you willing to create photo? Are you doing carousels, giveaways? So it's kind of the what type of content and how professional does that come across? And so not only are the brands looking at the type of content, they're also going to look at like your engagement, right? What are people saying about your content in the comments? And then with that, then yeah. And basically it all boils down to, if you don't know what kind of content you want to create, what kind of problems do you enjoy helping people solve? So this can be a business thing. It doesn't have to be lifestyle as food, fashion, fitness, right? A specific problem or specific problems for a specific type of people that you enjoy helping them, right? That is ultimately the main thing. That should be the theme, right? So how do you land brand deals on your Instagram and your blog? First and foremost, everything stems from your blog and your website. I know we just talked a ton about Instagram and about content creation on social media, but if you don't have a blog and or website that is stems from, uh, and you want to create a business out of being an influencer, this is actually the key, right? It's having something that like a landing page where everything goes off from. Okay, so if you don't already have a blog or a website, I have a package that you can get at ladybossblogger.com/bluehost that you can check out later. But for now, step one, what we just talked about, right? It's create an example content. So what we just said in terms of like creating your resume, creating your the examples that you want to present to brands. Step two is creating a media kit. And this doesn't have to be super difficult. It's basically, if you have an Instagram, you have your stats, right? So in the back, you can just say, okay, this is who is in my audience. If you just click on insights in the back, you can see who follows you, different stuff like that. This is the kind of information that brands want to know. It's who is in your audience, and once again, what kind of content you can create. Step three is actually reaching out to brands that you feel like are a good partner for you, or that you feel like would mesh with you, stuff like that. Step four is creating branded content. So now that you've created an example of free content, you want to make sure to create, now that you have reached out to brands, create branded content. Then step five, making sure to get people into your email list. So I know that I'm kind of talking like the big picture here, but if you want, once again, to make Instagram and all that stuff into your business, it needs to be bigger than Instagram, right? So you want to make sure to get people into your email list if you don't already have that as already. And then after you get people into your email list, you want to create your own product to sell. So now that you have, done brand collaborations and you can see, what kind of products work, what kind of products don't, in terms of, let's say you were to promote a skincare, and your audience, really reacts well to your skincare products. So you might want to create your own skincare product line and then present that. Then instead of making a commission for the brand, you're making 100% of the sales for that skincare line. So that's how you can eventually scale, right? And then step seven, keep building your business assets. What is a business asset? That's something that you own. For example, as we just said, right, with your website, right? This is something you own because you pay for it. Social media, you don't own because you don't pay for it. So a business asset or email list, you pay for a business email list because, and you can own those contacts. Versus Instagram, like everything fuels through Instagram, and then Instagram owns your followers. So if they were to shut down your account, you would have no access to it. That's why you want to make sure that you're building your business assets. So steps 1 to 7 is in general what you should do. And then I teach exactly how you should do it in my courses, which is, if you can access it at LadyBossBloggerCourses.com. But this is just a general overview. For example, like, how exactly do you reach out to brands? What exactly do you say? What are the templates that will make a brand respond to you? What should you say if they say no? How do you rephrase it? Negotiation, tips and tricks. How do you delegate your content if you don't know how to create a certain thing? How do you actually get step 1 through step 7 in order to actually create your Instagram into your full-time business? Everything I talk about that in my courses. So what do successful influencers have? Number 1, they have a plan, as I just said, right? They have a why to what they produce. So everything they put out, there is some way to come back in, right? So for example, all the product reviews that I post, there's always going to be a promo for my courses, because not only is it a promo for the brand, it's also promoting, like, I've worked with, XYZ brands, therefore I know what I'm talking about, therefore, so it's kind of like making double the sales, right? So in essence, when you're creating your beauty content, I mean, this is obviously further down the road, but you ultimately do want to create your own product, whatever that is, if it's a physical product, a digital product, a coaching service, whatever. Ultimately, that's the bigger sell, and that's what's going to get you more funds down the road. But always, whenever you produce, as I said, content, you want to know, what you're putting out so that you can get those contacts back in. Second, as I just mentioned, you want a blog so that you have an asset that you own that grows with you. While you can grow your Instagram, and that's wonderful, having a blog is basically, in essence, your business, right? It's something that has SEO value. And what SEO value is that you can search online for like your name and or your business, and then it will actually come up. Instead of like if you just, if you were to search something, if you were trying to find a piece of your content on Instagram, you can't type into Google, Elaine Rao with this jacket on. You know what I mean? It doesn't come up. There's no searchability on Instagram, but on a blog, there's searchability. So if you were to blog about this jacket on your blog, and then you were to type that into Google, you could actually find that, and then people could see it and then purchase it. So that's why I always recommend that not only do you have Instagram, but you also have a blog to supplement it, okay? Next, you wanna make sure that you have good colors, vibe, a feel, but more important than anything, you want a mission, right? Something that you stand behind, that your followers can stand behind, that you're known for what you do, but also your brand is in addition to what it looks like visually, it's also super important how people talk about your brand behind your brand, right? So for example, and your mission can change. For like LadyBossBlogger, I've changed my mission a couple times as my lifestyle and my life has changed, right? I mean, from starting the blog, to growing it, to then changing directions, it can change. So that's not a problem. Also knowing how to measure your ROI, which means your return on investment, which is what the brands put out, and the funds they give you, they need to make sure that it's worth it, right? So in order for them to measure that it's worth it, you need to be able to measure your success in how it is that you are coming across. For example, like how many sales did you make? How many commissions did you make? All that stuff, and how you track that is via your blog or via your other things. Because for example, on Instagram, everything can't be tracked, right? So you're at the mercy of the algorithm. You're at the mercy of, that one link. And so what should that one link in your bio link to? Your blog, your website, right? And then finally, your email list. Successful influencers all have an email list. This includes their landing pages, their opt-ins, automation, sequences, tags, and a trust funnel. So what an email list is basically, this is like where everything kind of, lands, right? So, so in essence, what a landing page is basically someone can come and then sign up for your content or sign up to subscribe to your email list. And then you can send out your blog posts or even send out your Instagram posts to them and say, hey, check out my Instagram post. This is a branded post. And you'll get a lot more traffic that way versus depending on the algorithm and depending on people who are, potentially scrolling through or even your followers who might not even see your content to like your content and then potentially even purchase, right? Email is like the number one, even though it might be considered old school, it's the number one buying platform out there. When you receive an email, right? I mean, how many of us check our emails like every single day, like 5 times a day, right? Even if it's like your junk email, you still do check that from time to time, right? And so you want to make sure that your email is the base of everything else that you produce from there, okay? So for example, like, and I mean, automation sequences, tags, those are all like very, very, very advanced. And so if you are at that point, I do have a freebie, which is, it doesn't matter what it is, where you are at on your journey, you can use this trust funnel. And this ultimately is what's going to help you create automatic sales for your branded content on your Instagram. And this is like the one thing that like influencers, I feel like, don't tell you. It's like, they're like, oh yeah, create content, make beautiful, da da da. But there's a whole like business side to the back of things, right? And this is what this is. So you can access it by going to bit.ly/free trust funnel. And then this is a totally free downloadable funnel that you can click. And then if you have a ConvertKit account, it will download directly into your account. And so when you do that, you'll learn how trust funnels generate trust, authority, and sales. And then in this little green button over here, when you click on it, there you'll see a 7-day welcome series. So when people opt into your platform, they'll get like a 7-day welcome series, and then which will, you can send out whatever it is that you want. But I have exactly what you should say and when you should say in order to generate sales when you click into it. So basically what I mean, the ultimate thing is if you want a business and not just a brand, you need a blog and email list because of SEO capabilities and because your email list is your moneymaker. So yeah, so that's what I have for you. If you have any questions for me, you can go ahead and follow me and DM me on Elaine Rao, because I actually don't check the DMs on LadyBossBlogger. And yeah, I think we can go into Q&A. Is that what's next on the agenda?
Yes, we can definitely open it up to Q&A. Thanks so much, Elaine. So some people are asking already, we got some messages. How do you get brands interested in you? Now, I know that you touched upon it where you said you could do a video, you can share a post, you can tag somebody, but are there any other strategies that you would say are like a good way? Would you suggest coming up with a curated list into like a Google Doc and say, these are 50 people that resonate with me, so my values align, and then do a post? What would you say from that perspective for someone who's not even sure where to start?
Yeah, I would actually go to the brand's tagged images and see if they even work with influencers.
Okay.
And so if they do, see what kind of content that those influencers are creating, and then create similar kind of content to send to the brand.
Okay. And then, for example, let's say you do that and you see that brand aligns. Now, what would be the next step? Are you going to, like you said, is it that you just create a video and you tag them, or a post? Do you reach out to the brand manager and send a message and then follow behind it? Just trying to like show them the process of how do they go.
These people are asking, can you dive a little bit deeper?
Yes, yeah. The thing about that, why it's I'm being vague about it, is because every single brand works so differently.
Right.
So it's not a direct answer. I'm not going to be like, this is the one way to do it. But one way to do it is that you can some brands check their DMs. So you can ask them, hey, I would love to partner with you. Can you please share with me, the social media manager's information? And then you can get their email, and then you can email them a pitch in terms of like, this is the kind of content I can create for you. This is the, what I was thinking, what do you think? And start the conversation that way. Or you can also just you can go to LinkedIn and see, what, managers are out there. Just type, Aveeno brand manager or influencer marketing manager, and you can see who works there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, LinkedIn is such a great tool. We use LinkedIn all the time. The questions are starting to pour in, Elaine. So this is awesome.
So how often are you communicating with your followers and your target various niches? So let's say you have Aveeno as a brand. Do you specifically try to target people that you think would resonate with that? Or do you do a macro campaign and then whoever likes it will kind of be interested there?
So me personally, or what should you do?
You personally.
Okay. So me personally, I like to work with a lot of different brands. There are different influencers who like to just work with one brand and then that's what they promote and so on and so forth. For me, because I like to try new things and I like new kind of like, the niche brands there's always new brands popping up and I'm always curious about it, and I feel like the new brands, they're the ones that like try harder in terms of their ingredients are better. They've learned from, the big, corporate brands. And so that's the kind of stuff that I personally like to promote, which is why you see on my page, there's a whole collection. Is that a word? A whole collection of eclectic stuff. And so yeah, but I do work with brands like maybe like once every month or so, I would like promote something else from their brand. But I work with a ton.
Makes sense. I know that we did a campaign when Perrier did the rebranding, where they were trying to take Perrier from being something that older people knew to like the different flavors. And so we had to, part of the activation was we had to do like an in-person event, and then we had to do a series of promo on our Instagram and through our email campaign. So definitely there's different strategies based on what the brand wants. One of the questions that we got is, how do brands actually measure ROI? Are sales directly tracked by a code, or a link or unique to the influencers? Are you getting a code, or are you getting a different call to action? Or are they just measuring it based on how many likes you get or how many comments? And then do they go in and basically see who commented and contact those people directly? Where does that ROI get tracked, and are they different per brand, or is it pretty much similar?
Once again, a lot of brands actually don't know the best way to work with influencers. So it's better that you know how to track your ROI, and I'm going to talk about it in 1 second. But oftentimes, so there's different campaigns that brands run. So sometimes brands run a brand awareness campaign. And so they're not necessarily looking for like a direct correlation of your post and sales. They're looking that like their brand gets out there to as many eyeballs as possible. And maybe they're trying to get people into their email list. You know, that might be their campaign. They might not necessarily let you know that. And so an important way to measure your own is to create your own short links, which is you can go to bit.ly and create your own short link in order to see how many people actually clicked on your link, so that you're tracking yourself if the brand isn't tracking it for you. Now, if they are more advanced and they actually know what, more so what they're doing, they will have an affiliate program for you. And what that is basically they will give you a trackable code. And so every single person who clicks on it, they will go to the brand's website. And then if they purchase something, then you get accredited and attributed that percentage. For example, and once again, every single company is different. Some people might give you 10%. Some people might give you 30%. That's very rare. If you were to become a LadyBossBlogger affiliate, we give 40% of the affiliate. So whoever was to purchase a course from you, from a LadyBossBlogger course, then you get 40% of that sale attributed.
Right. Well, a lot of them, like Tony Robbins, Pete Vargas, all of them do it, and they do, anywhere from like a 30 to 50% affiliate based on, who you are and how big your reach is. So that's something important for people to know as they're deciding what they're interested in and participating with.
We have another question. How long were you on Instagram before you got traction?
I posted every single day, and any algorithm, regardless if it's Instagram or Google or Pinterest or anything, if you post every single day, the algorithm likes you because you're using their platform. Okay, so that's like one thing that like most people, they're like, well, I can't come up with content every single day, right? So this is how you do it. You batch your content, right? So you create a bunch of things. Like I have a whole thing actually over there, which is just like all my products. And then I have one day that I post, that I create all the content for like 3 months. And then I just slowly post, right? So it's like about scheduling and all that stuff.
That's a good point. And I just want to touch on that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but a lot of you guys say that, we don't have time to post every single day, or I don't have time to do a podcast every single day. You can batch things out and do, like you said, 10 on one day, pick one day a week that you're going to batch things out, so you have them in your back pocket, so you can then just post them every single day.
Right, and there's like, like a Hootsuite where you can schedule it, and then basically you could say, okay, I did my scheduling on Sunday, and then you're kind of dispersing it out, which a lot of people do use. So that's like a good thing to point out.
I'm just gonna go grab my charger because I'm like running out of juice. I'm 4%. Hold on.
Yeah, go grab that.
So while she's grabbing that, I know that some of you guys are asking how many times a day do you post? It is really good to do it multiple times, because who's going to be on in the morning is going to be different than who's on the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Like we're on Eastern Standard Time, but let's say you're on LA time. What you're going to see is going to be different based on the times that you're logging in. But ultimately, as she said, and we've said this before, is being consistent is key, because that's what's going to kind of keep that momentum. We go back to the momentum idea, which is momentum keeps you in motion. So doing something allows you to keep going. So Elaine, do you have a recommendation on how many times a day you schedule it? Do you do 1 post? Do you do 3 posts? I know that obviously people try to scale it for different time zones. So what is your strategy?
I just do once a day. I think 3 times is just way too crazy. Like nobody wants to be, see it. Like it's there. It's like a little too much when it's 3, and that's so excessive for you as well, right? One a day is nice. They can keep track of what you're doing, and then you can like feel that you can keep up with your content.
Okay, and then you don't feel like you're missing out on the different time zones?
I mean, generally, if you're like with specific target audiences, I mean, it's just a couple hour difference.
Yeah, depending on where you're trying to target. But yeah,
I think some influencers do it once a day and some people, do more. I think you know your audience. So
Right.
like Elaine said, you have to know your audience and then you'll see what works for you, for sure.
And then another question is, as you know, so many people get so many emails for products, some go to junk. I think a big thing is the subject line to get people's attention. So is there something that when you do outreach to brands that you tend to say, this is your subject line?
Or
Yep,
do you,
I mentioned like followers, like work with influencer with 40,000 followers.
Okay, so you hone in on where your size of your list is so that it captures their attention.
Yep.
Perfect. And another question is, they were saying, if you don't use the product, do you feel comfortable supporting it? Or is that something that you shy away from?
So I will try anything, but if I don't like it, I won't promote it. And the brands who send me everything, they know. And in general, I mean, I sign up for specific things. So I'm always, whatever I get, I have selected it. It's not like, okay. So some brands, they like Pixie, they send stuff like every, or Glowbiotics, they're always sending stuff. But the thing is, like, their stuff is always good, whatever it is that they send, it's, versus smaller brands, like you're not necessarily guaranteed that quality, but as I said, you could select specific things that you like.
Okay.
and I think you touched on one thing. Everything that you threw out was amazing, but some people on here might not be a blogger or an influencer, but you touched on something and I wrote it down. You said, would you hire yourself? And that was very important. So when anybody is pitching, whether it's on social media or on a phone call, can you touch on that a little bit on, would you hire yourself? So that trust factor, can you tell them some other things that can help them while they're pitching? Because they might not be pitching on Instagram, they might be pitching another way.
Right. So the other way that I would recommend pitching is just via email. Phone calls are, I don't know, nobody who does that. But specifically for like influencer, stuff. Like, I mean, brand managers don't want to be on a phone with every single influencer, right? They want emails, they want tracking, they want to be able to see, what's going on. And so sorry, what was the question you said?
So you were saying, would you hire yourself? So obviously you're a huge influencer. People love working with you, but why do you think they want to work with you rather than somebody else? Obviously you're standing out for a reason. So I want you to tell these ladies how they can stand out from their competition, because there are a ton of influencers that they can go with, but why do you think they choose you? I want them to know why people should choose them over their competition.
Yeah, really good question. I know my target and my audience really well. And so if you know your audience really well, you know exactly who your content is for, exactly who and exactly who is in your audience. That is what brands want. Because once again, as I mentioned earlier, brands work with people because they want to tap into your audience. So if you're not sure who is in there, then they're not going to be sure about you.
Right. I think that such great information today.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that world. So you just created so much clarity for them. We appreciate you so much taking time on a Sunday to provide all of this information. Check out LadyBossBlogger if you all want more information. Elaine, thank you so much.
And we have a link that we're going to share to a downloadable course. So I got that from Elaine. So we wanted to say thank you. And we're going to share that in both the back end chat and then the front end and on the replays. So thanks, Elaine. We can't wait to have you back and see you soon.
Thank you, Elaine. Bye.
Thanks so much.